reading that you like to record while you write because it takes on a life of its own. A music takes on a life of its own. Is that something that's common with music artists? And also, what made you want to start recording while you write music?
I think it's pretty common with a lot of producers and writers, at least with a lot of producers, because, you're literally just jamming out the music while you're recording it, so you'll record a couple parts and just jam to those parts. You get to part of why I like it, because then I can lay down a guitar part or a keyboard part, and then I can go jam a drum part, and then I can go jam, and build on top of it and jam out all these other parts that I'm hearing, which I can't obviously do all at once. So it gives me an ability to be the whole band and be the producer as well as just being the artist, I guess, and the songwriter. So it's really just about jamming, out shit until the gold comes out, or until the song or an idea of a song comes out.
It must be cool to have a backlog of all these different recordings, even a lot that you haven't released or haven't released yet to the world, because it's like a real-time catalog of things that you're putting together. And like you were saying, you're playing until the gold comes out. I feel like in so many things, you just have to force yourself to sit down, even if you aren't feeling super inspired at the moment. But then just by the act of doing, things start to flow and make sense in a way that it wouldn't have if you just didn't sit down and do it.
Totally. 100%.
Coming from the world of being in a band, because you're also a guitarist and vocalist in the band Gentleman Hall, what's the transition like going from working in a group environment to being a solo artist?
Well, I get asked that a lot, actually. For me, it wasn't. I've been in and out of bands my whole life. I started playing in my garage bands, I started kind of as a solo artist in a way, where I was playing blues and blues covers in bars with my own band. So that's kind of how I started. And then I was in and out of a ton of bands, throughout my life. And Gentleman Hall was just one, I guess, that kind of sticks with people, where, they asked me well, what was that transition like? It's pretty natural, because that's kind of where I was coming from anyway, just getting back to my roots a bit more, I suppose.
Is there anything that being in that group dynamic in a band has helped you do as a solo artist, like skills that you developed being in a band that are now paying dividends as a solo artist?
Yeah, 100%. There was that band in particular was really important for me to grow as an artist, because I really learned a lot about songwriting, recording, and producing being in that particular band, because we just all lived together. There's 6 of us in the band. We all lived together, and we literally turned a whole house into a recording studio. And that's kind of where I really caught the studio bug. I mean, I loved being in the studio before that too, but I didn't really have a computer before that. I didn't have a lot of those home recording. I didn't have that equipment really. So I was trying to scrounge up any kind of studio time I could before that, which was kind of few and far between. So I was, before that, just playing live a lot, and rehearsing a lot, but not in the studio as much as I really wanted to be. So when I was in that band and everybody kind of had the mentality of let's turn this whole house into a studio, and then it just caught that bug. And I really just learned a lot from all those other band members about, writing, producing, recording, and just having a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah. And I bet that playing live a lot takes out a lot of that maybe nervousness of playing live, or at least gets you out of your comfort zone a little bit, because it's such a force to be playing in front of people and have that feedback in real time, where you could see expressions on people's faces, or maybe they like it, maybe they don't like it, especially in the early stages. And I think a lot of people, when they don't get the feedback that they want at the early stages, cave in or just decide that, they aren't ready for this, or they don't want to do it anymore. And then other people like yourself push past that and just continue to use that live experience to learn and hone their craft and take that feedback.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, for me, I started so young, and I was doing like I said, I was playing in bars a lot. So we would play all night. We'd play from 9 p.m. to like 1 or 2 in the morning. So, and with that, you're doing 3 or 4 sets a night. So, if the first set didn't go as well as you liked, or the second set, it's like you're going back at it and you're doing it again and you're doing it again and you're just doing it for like long periods of time. So that's, I think, what really helped me get through any kind of weird stages like that. Because God, I mean, 2-3 hours in, you're starting to feel pretty comfortable,
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah, and it's a different scene, like doing a bar, doing bar shows from like doing bigger stages, like shorter sets. It's a totally different thing.
What's the most differences that you pick up on from doing the bar scene to the festival or concert scene, besides the actual size? What are the biggest differences you notice and feedback or the vibe of the room?
Well, a lot of times with bar gigs or whatever, it's like a rotating door. People are coming in and out a lot. So it gives you a limited opportunity to grab their attention. So I think it's definitely helpful in transitioning into the bigger stages and doing shorter sets, because it's like, okay, what am I doing? What works in grabbing people's attention, and where do I lose people? You have like a lot of time to figure that out, as a young person, doing long bar shows. So then when you start to do shorter sets on bigger stages, it's like you want to condense all those moments into one thing. You're just trying to grab people's attention and keep it the whole time.
It sounds like a bar is a pretty good test run at trying to grab people's attention, like you were saying, right away, and kind of experimenting with different songs to open up on, or how people react to different songs. Because in a bar, like a comedy club, people are really going to let you know how they feel. Like they don't give a shit. Like they'll scream stuff out, or
you're going to know.
You'll know pretty quickly.
You'll know pretty quickly. Yeah.
Do you ever listen to the comedian Andrew Schulz?
No.
He actually blew up a lot because of his YouTube channel, but he talks a lot about performing multiple sets in a night in comedy clubs and things like that around New York City. And he has this 1 hour long YouTube set that he put together that's 4 15-minute sets, but it's kind of molded together into one thing. He takes a night full of comedy and then splices it together to make 1 hour long thing. So he goes to 4 different clubs. He has conversations with the taxi driver, like testing jokes in the cabs, or asking, do you think this shit is funny, or something like that. And he's like in real time trying to figure out what his set's going to be. And it sounds like it could be a similar experience playing sets in bars as a music artist, especially when you're doing 3 or 4 sets in the same night, where, if you bomb the first set, you have the second and third or fourth set to kind of put it together. And it's not just that one shot at the night. It's kind of like the whole night takes on a life of its own.
I mean, it's like the best way to hone your craft. There's really no better way to do it.
Yeah, because you get that feedback in real time.
Yeah, I think like a lot of the comedy giants like Chappelle and I don't know who else, but they go out and still do small club shows just to test their material before they go do their big theater or arena runs or whatever they do.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Even like Kevin Hart, I heard him talking about the same thing. Like he'll go do a whole tour of just small clubs to test out all his stuff. And by the end of that tour, that's when he'll have his like set ready to go. And then he'll go do all the big venues.
Yeah, they have these pop-up runs. And it's funny because I didn't know about all the behind the scenes comedy stuff until I started listening to them on podcasts. Like when Kevin Hart went on Joe Rogan and Chris D'Elia, Andrew Schulz, like they all talked about.
I think I saw that Kevin Hart thing on Joe Rogan, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, exactly. So you know what I'm talking about. They all go to these little, 100 capacity, 50 capacity clubs, and they'll show up and it'll be with some comedian you never heard of. And then after them, they'll be like, all right, ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Hart. And people are like, what the fuck? Yeah. Like that must be a trip to see. But yeah, I had never known about that aspect because I always assumed that people were just funny or people, were just good at playing guitar, good at singing, and
it came natural.
Yeah, you don't see all the
work.
The years that go in behind the scenes.
No.